Hello and welcome back to the Human Manual. I am your host Ankit, and today we are going to discuss the text 12 of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Till now we had covered till text 11, and now we will continue with the text 12 of the second chapter. Krishna continues to speak to Arjuna, and in the previous text Krishna had criticized Arjuna of his knowledge, of the knowledge which is not giving him the solution of his problem. He had criticized him that he is thinking in a very learned way, but that knowledge, that all the religious knowledge which he is showing is actually not solving his problems. And therefore now Krishna speaks further to Arjuna, and we will see. So text 12, chapter 2. न त्वेवेवाहं जातु नासं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे व्यमतः param. Which means, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna says to Arjuna, never was there a time when Krishna himself did not exist, nor you, nor Arjuna, and nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. We will now read the purport of this particular text. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shvetasvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations, according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. So it is in the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad and Shvetasvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities, all the living entities, in terms of their different situations according to individual work and their reactions, which means the karma. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. So not only Krishna, because Krishna is omnipresent, he is present inside in the hearts of every living entities. His expansion, his plenary expansion is also present in the hearts of living entities. Not only he exists individually, but also he exists within the heart of every one of us. And this fact, the only saintly persons who can see this, who can see within and without, who can see the presence of the Supreme Lord, who can feel the presence of Bhagwan within themselves and also outside of themselves, the same Supreme Lord, which they can see within and without, these saintly persons can only attain to perfect and peace. It is also said in the Katha Upanishad, Nityo nityanam chetas chetnanam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman tam atmastham ye nupasyanti dhira stesam santi saswati netarisam. It is said in the Katha Upanishad, the same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. This Vedic truth, which was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna himself, is not just given to Arjuna but also to all the living entities who show themselves that they are also very learned, but factually they have a very poor fund of knowledge, as was the condition of Arjuna himself. The Lord says clearly that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned state and in their liberated situations. So not just in their conditioned state, but also in their liberated situations, which means in all the conditions, Krishna maintains the living entities by being himself present in the hearts of the living entities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there in the Kurukshetra, as well as all the living entities present in the universe, are individual eternal persons. Now, this point should be noted. Krishna says that not just me, but you, Arjuna, as well as all the kings present in this Kurukshetra war, and all the living entities, which means all the living entities in this universe, are eternally situated. They are all eternal in their presence, even though they now seem to be in a conditioned state, but they are all eternal living entities. Their existence is eternal. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal positions. They will always remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for everyone. So Krishna pacifies Arjuna by saying that never was there a time when me, myself, you, and all the kings existed, and there will not be a time when they will cease to exist. They will always remain eternal. So there is no point of lamentation for them, because every one of us are eternally existing. Never will be a time when we will cease to exist, nor never will be a time when you and everyone will cease to exist. So there is no point of lamentation, and everybody's individuality will always be secured. It is not that the individuality will also cease to exist. We all are individually eternal persons. We were in the past, and we will always be eternal living entities. There will never be a time when our existence will cease to exist, or we will merge into something as described by the Mayavadis. We will now read about what Mayavadi's point of view is there in the Bhagavad Gita, and how it contradicts to what Krishna actually says. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul separated by the covering of Maya or illusion will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the Supreme Authority. The Mayavadi's point of view is that when the soul gets liberated from the clutches of Maya, they merge into the impersonal Brahman and they lose their individual existence. But this philosophy of the Mayavadis is being contradicted by Krishna himself in this text. It is not being supported by Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Authority, nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. So the individuality will also continue eternally. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna is not subject to illusion. He cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. Now the point of view of the Mayavadis is that individuality is material, means individuality is would not be a fact. Individuality will not cease to exist. Sorry, individuality will cease to exist. It will get over. Then Krishna would not have stressed it so much in this text that everyone's individuality will remain eternal. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these things, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So what does this mean? It means that the individuality of the person, of every living entity which was there in the past, which is in the present, and it will always remain in the future. The individuality will always be eternal. There will be no ceasement of individuality. So, if individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Now, the Mayavadis may also argue in this particular text that maybe Krishna is speaking this verse on the material platform, on the material level. Now we will see in this purport how this itself contradicts the statement. They say that the Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? The point which should be noted in this text is that Krishna has himself mentioned himself. He has himself mentioned his existence in this particular text. So how can then Krishna's individuality be explained? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He has continued his individuality, he has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. We had read in the second text of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita how Krishna explains that in what ways there are level of understanding. There are three level of understanding of the Supreme Brahman, the Absolute Truth. That is the understanding of Brahman, then the understanding of Paramatma, and the understanding of the Bhagwan, which is similar to understanding the sunshine feature of the sun, the surface of the sun, and the sun itself. So the Brahman feature of the Lord is also but the subordinate to the actual feature of the Lord, and therefore it has been declared that the Brahman feature is always subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. If Krishna is assumed to be an ordinary person or is in the covering of a material body or with a conditioned situation, then the very existence of Bhagavad Gita, the words of Bhagavad Gita, the words of Krishna himself would have no value, and which becomes the contradiction to what Mayavadi says. Mayavadis are saying that the Krishna is speaking this verse on a material level, but this very fact has been condemned by Krishna himself in the previous text when he chastises Arjuna about he being lamenting. Therefore, in the second verse, in just the second verse, how can Krishna shift to the material level? So Krishna is always speaking on the spiritual level. And the second thing is that Krishna has himself included himself in this particular verse. Then how can that verse become on a material level? It is of course in a spiritual level. So the argument that the Mayavadis may put that this verse of individuality is being spoken by Krishna on a material level is itself becomes a contradiction to their understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. The Gita above, a common man with all the 4 defects of human frailty is unable to teach which is worth hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. If one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, then the Gita will lose its importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned by Krishna himself. And after condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional position on the body again? How can he shift from the spiritual level to the material level immediately after speaking the 11th verse? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed. This is also confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Now this individuality can only be understood by those who have the realization of the absolute truth, who are in short the devotees of the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. So it is mentioned that the non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. Of course, the bottle of honey is capped, it is closed. So how can one test the taste of honey? One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is the most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and wants that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. So Lord Chaitanya has also forbidden us to take shelter of such a philosophy, of such a Mayavadi philosophy, and wants that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the essence of Bhagavad Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as mentioned in the above verse. So that was text 12 of the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, then please subscribe to my channel, press the like button. Also comment in the comment section below what you liked about these videos, and thank you very much.